Welcome into Leading Edge for this week. I'm Jeff Smith. Hope you had a good week. Boy, I'll tell you what, if there's one thing that Northwest Ohio, Southeast Michigan does well, it is reaching out beyond its scope and being more giving. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today. We're also coming up in one of our later segments, going to talk with a friend of mine, McKenna Reitz. She's going to talk about a trip out west she had and a very special interview that she took part in. But first, I want to introduce our guest to you here today. Aly Sterling joining us. Philanthropy is your game, and it's so great to finally have you in here for Leading Edge. Welcome.
Thank you. Super excited to be here.
Absolutely. So I kind of start off the conversation by talking about Northwest Ohio, Southeast Michigan. There are things that we know this community does well. One of those you and I discussed before we came on today is philanthropy. Let's define that for our audience. What is philanthropy in today's terms? What does it mean, really?
It's interesting. There are so many, it's a big word, right? And people even have trouble pronouncing it in the first place. And so there are lots of definitions. I like to boil it down to love of humankind, truly, because that manifests itself in so many different ways. It might be traditionally through the time, talent, and treasure that we've heard about before, but we've evolved so much since then. And so we have this idea, I think, of like, let's use the grocery store as an example.
All right.
Red Kettle, Salvation Army, right? You know, you would pass that coming in. Now we are seeing people making decisions within a grocery store about products that have charitable intention or cause partnerships, or a percentage of proceeds go to support whatever charity. And then you get ready to leave the grocery store and they're asking you to round up at the register, right? For those proceeds to go to charity.
Yeah.
So it used to be that I think philanthropy was very much more transactional, much more check writing, money in a kettle. And today, it's like imbued and embedded within so much of what we do.
Whose brainchild was that when you're ordering a burrito at Chipotle, all of a sudden you're jacking up to the nearest dollar in order to contribute?
I don't know whose brainchild that was, but it's very effective. Research shows that I think—
Does it work?
Oh, yes. So like almost 90% of us will say yes at the point of sale.
Yeah.
We will round up, we'll say yes.
No kidding.
That's awesome, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Aly Sterling Philanthropy and give people, I'll give you a little pitch moment here. Talk a little bit about what you do day in and day out, who you're talking to, and what your mission is.
Yeah, so again, thank you for having me here. It's so nice to be part of this amazing show. We are a locally rooted, but nationally recognized philanthropy advising firm. So we are working with nonprofits, with corporations, with family foundations. If it has to do with philanthropy, we're involved in some way. And I founded the organization 15 years ago here. We're small, we're boutique intentionally, but we like to think we have a nice ripple effect across the country.
Why jump into it?
Oh,
because 15 years ago, time's very different.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say that because it seems like as much doesn't change, there has been a lot of change as far as philanthropy goes.
Why jump into it? I just felt a calling. I really did. I'd had such great work experiences working for nonprofits. Actually, my past background was in finance, of all things. So I kind of made the intentional decision to take a leap and use my business acumen in this other sector. And we're seeing more and more that people are doing that. They're kind of deciding that they're going to leave the corporate space and they're going to work in the nonprofit sector. So I did that 15 years ago from a place of just knowing that every single nonprofit has the ability to be successful in its mission and its impact, and I wanted to be part of creating those strategies and holding people accountable for what their vision and their big dreams are.
So let's kind of dive into, and if you're out there and you're thinking, okay, maybe my company does something very well as far as selling a product or just its day-to-day basis, but we want to do more, we want to be more. So how do you guide said big company and or said small company that, hey, maybe you can be more charitable in what you do?
Yeah, and it can start small with a small company. I think that's incremental progress, and even the smaller the company, the better, because it's more manageable. We work with big corporations, national, global corporations, but the small ones sometimes actually get more traction earlier on. What I like to share is the why. right? So we know also that employees are attracted to companies who are, committed to some form of charity and some form of volunteerism, et cetera. We know that they're more likely to be retained by that organization. Customers are attracted, customers are more loyal, et cetera. So the first step usually in the process is just to appreciate what you're already doing. So it is amazing. Our clients come to us and they're like, we're not doing enough. And then we step back and we do a quick assessment, and it's like, well, actually, they're doing a lot more than they think they are. They're involved in, day of giving. They're involved in workplace, contributions. Their employees are actually serving on boards and committees, but they just haven't put their arms around all of that to quantify it and then promote it and then figure out where they want to head next.
One of the things you touched on right there, and I don't know if you picked that up there at home, but you said some employees are choosing to go to said company because of their charitable.
Yeah, especially younger generations. They are absolutely making decisions based on that organization's social purpose and how that is expressed and how
Where did that change? I mean, why did that?
Very good question.
Yeah, where did it change? And also, why did it become such, somebody needs a job, they need a job, right? And we have seen in this economy over the last few years, going through the pandemic, obviously.
Yeah.
But are you telling me that what another organization does as far as charity is concerned is going to flip the switch for said employee?
Yeah.
Is it the millennial or is it okay, go ahead.
That's, I think, actually what it is. I think our younger generations are just so much more in tune to volunteering, to charity, to this commerce notion, this consumer notion of Tom's shoes. You buy one, one is given. So they grew up in a space of that's just part of it. I didn't grow up in that space. I had to seek out volunteering. I had to seek out, sort of this notion of charity. I wasn't raised necessarily in that. I came into it.
Right.
Our younger generations are absolutely raised in it. They are forming.
You go work for a business and all of a sudden you said, hey, by the way, on the weekends I do X, Y, and Z, and your boss is like, oh, good for you.
It's a competitive edge today. It is a differentiator today.
It's not a resume filler anymore.
No, it's not.
Yeah. Let's get into people wrapping their mind around the numbers. And when you are that said small company or that big company, how much are you responsible? If you do go out there and say, I am going to be this organization, I am going to be more charitable, how do you wrap your mind around the numbers? How do you guide them through that?
So I think the first step, again, is to appreciate where you are. And it might be that you're nowhere. It might be that, you just are now just considering doing this. Or often your employees are coming to you and saying, hey, so-and-so that I know is doing this at their company. Could we do this? And so what we like to do is align values. So, to see what is the brand, what is the mission of the organization, what are they producing, what are they selling, where is there a natural alignment in the charitable space that they could partner with. I mean, it's not to say that a haphazard alignment's not bad, because anything's good, right, if we're doing good. But to be able to align brand with a charity or a cause or an issue that is particularly appropriate really gets a lot more, I think, bang for your buck, if you will. So, yeah.
How good is Toledo at giving?
Really.
When you look across the globe, when you look across the U.S., you and I were talking before we ever came out here today, and I said, I feel like we're really good at it, right?
Yeah.
I feel like there are so many really good charitable organizations, but I also don't want to have tunnel vision in that. But you said, no, you're onto something.
You are absolutely correct. We have it baked in our DNA in a way I think that other cities, there was some research done several years ago that showed that how we stack up to other similar size communities, and we are absolutely leaps and bounds doing more than others are. I think, we have been in the habit, Jeff, of giving longer than others. We have a couple things going for us. We are smaller Midwest, value-driven. The notion of religious, activity and tithing, all of that kind of creates the right ecosystem for this stuff to happen. We also have had so many very philanthropic Fortune 500 companies that have been in this community, that have left a legacy, if you will, and created institutions and things that we, you and I use all the time within this community. I also think we have an extraordinary working class. We have, and nationally, working class individuals actually give disproportionately more than others. So I think we have this just perfect kind of meld of things that have created quite a distinction for
and
this
that goes
community.
contrary to what you probably would think would be the situation, where working class, working hard for every dollar, but no, they understand that it's bigger than just their job and their family, and they want to give outside. Stay right there. We've got another segment coming up in just a moment. I want to talk to you more about Toledo using philanthropy as kind of a bellwether to draw in companies and say, hey, it's not just we're the crossroads of America, but we have donations that are strong. Stay with us. We'll be back with Leading Edge right after this. Once again, glad to have you with us here on Leading Edge. Aly Sterling joining me here today talking about philanthropy in Northwest Ohio, Southeast Michigan. We went to break, Aly, talking a little bit about using, I guess, philanthropy as a starting point, a jump off point for some of our, I guess, I think about the RGP, right? That goes out, the Regional Growth Partnership here in Northwest Ohio, that goes out and seeks out opportunities for starting companies and locating them here. Why not use philanthropy as a means to an end to get them here instead of saying, oh, we have great, we're the crossroads of America, we're next to a great lake. I could go on and on and on. Does that make sense?
Oh, I think it does.
Is it already happening?
I was going to say, I think it already is happening. We're just not using that term, philanthropy, to describe what we have here. I think philanthropy is what makes a good community a great community. It's that glue, it's that special sauce that you really can't put your finger on it exactly, but it's what creates quality of life. Think about the metro parks, think about the cultural institutions that we have, the symphony, the museum, et cetera, et cetera. We are, again, in a unique space that for size community we have a lot. And so that attracts companies, and that because companies want to choose places where their employees will enjoy a quality of life.
Let me bring up an example for everybody, and I only bring this up because I'm a huge fan, but David Foster, producer, composer, he was here a couple of months ago and did a performance at the Peristyle. Keith Burwell with Greater Toledo Community Foundation, who I know you know well, he was able to secure David, not just because David was on tour doing these concerts, but David understood why they were doing the concert, what it was benefiting, and what the mission of the Greater Toledo Community Foundation was, and he said yes.
That's impressive.
So that is one, I think that hits upon what you're saying right there, and maybe that doesn't speak to everybody, but that crowd that night, I can remember it well, that crowd that night was aghast at the fact that this is an A-lister coming here and doing this for us.
And it's because of what we've built and what we have, and it's attractive. And if not for philanthropy, we could talk about any of the projects in Toledo that you and I know and adore. And philanthropy helped build that. That's a public, private partnership that matters. So,
the arts, which are so important here in Northwest Ohio. I want to talk a little bit about when companies start doing community building, when they start getting more in over their skis, if you will. Does that happen? How do you temper that? How do you school a company, small or large, to say, listen, charity is great, your heart is in it, but you've got to be smart at the same time?
Just like that. Yes, you have to be strategic. I mean, it is.
Did I just give you your pitch?
Yeah, I was going to say what you said. Yes, you're hired. Yeah. No, I think, first of all, I don't think you can give too much in general. I think there are exceptions to that. But nationally, about $480 billion is given charitably in our country every year. Only 12% usually of that is given by corporations. So there's a lot more that corporations could do. So I don't think that there's ever too much. I do think, though, to your point, that if we aren't strategic in that, if we don't have a purpose and a vision that we galvanize around, it can be a little chaotic, and you might have your employees or the community or stakeholders going, what are they doing and why are they doing so much without any maybe common vision? So yeah, I think it's key.
But let me ask it, let me extend it to the point of, should companies in their said town think they have a responsibility to lift that town, to bring that town back if it has struggled?
I personally think so, yes. I think we have a responsibility. I might even go so far as to saying an obligation to doing that, right? We're located, I feel that way as a business owner. I feel like I want to leave my community better than I found it, right? And for future generations. So I think there's also a trend, trend's the wrong word because I think it's to stay, where consumers and community members are asking our companies to also be cognizant of what maybe they've created as issues in the past and sort of step up and correct for and fix for that. So yeah.
Aly Sterling, tell people where they can learn more about your operation.
AlySterling.com, easy as that.
Check it out. Thank you, Aly. It's great to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
Continue good luck in the new year. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back. We appreciate you sticking with us here on Leading Edge. Want to get right to my next guest, McKenna Reitz. You know, when we put this show together, when we produced this show, McKenna, we got to put all these graphics together. I kept running out of things to put at the bottom of your name. So involved in so many different ways. But I want to talk. I brought you on here today because of an experience you just had out west. So let everybody know you just got a heck of a trip and a heck of an interview.
I did, and thank you so much for having me, Jeff. I appreciate always being here on WTOL. I actually flew out to LA a couple weeks ago, and I taped the Jennifer Hudson show. And it was what
was the genesis of that? Who reached out to who?
I did.
Okay.
You know, I am all about you have to put the work in. And my goal is to not only spread the awareness about alopecia, but it's also to empower others that we can take any life challenge and reframe it into an opportunity, and understanding that it happened for us and not to us. And so I reached out to the executive producer last July when she posted on LinkedIn that she was the executive producer. And I shot her an email just saying, congratulations, would love to jump on a call. And we did. And it just kind of snowballed from there, you know, months and months of talking, and then they called me up a week and a half before flying out saying, can you be out here? And I said, let me figure out my schedule, but made it happen.
We had to kind of tap the brakes on bringing you on because you said there was an embargo. You couldn't necessarily talk about the show, but obviously we're here on Leading Edge talking about it. It airs when?
Tomorrow at the 27th at 4 o'clock on NBC.
Okay, so Monday the 27th.
Yep, so very excited. Just have to check local listings and very excited. It's
What was the discussion? Take us through it a little bit.
You know,
Give us a little preview.
It was good to share my story, you know, of alopecia, but not only just how my story of losing my hair within 3 weeks, but also how it's changed my life, and being able to see that we've all been dealt a mountain and be able to look at the beauty of the mountain and what I've been able to do with it, and most importantly, empower my own daughters, and how not only empowering my daughters, but how they've empowered me to love myself and discover that self-love that it took 40 years and losing every strand of hair in my body to finally discover.
And I'll tell you what, the tandem that you have with Greg, and you know, him being an athlete, a former athlete, a current coach, and a teacher, and just kind of a motivator in himself, you guys have kind of created this bond, this power couple, if you will, for Northwest Ohio. But I mean, the message is out there, right?
Yeah, you know,
it's spreading.
I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky that I have such an amazing husband who loves me unconditionally. And when I was losing my hair and he said, McKenna, it's just hair. You know, not many people can say that about their spouses, that they love you beyond your physical characteristics. And, you know, the goal is in any type of relationship is to support one another unconditionally. And that's what we do.
You do a lot of interviews, you talk to a lot of people, a lot of interactions, but your read on Jennifer Hudson and how she listened and how she heard you.
It's exactly the same thing as talking with you. It is that eye contact that she had, just her genuineness. Everyone always asks, what's she like? Exactly what you see. And that's what I love, is that when your character leads up and connects with who you actually are in real life, and she's just a very genuine, beautiful woman inside and out.
Let's talk about a big project that you've got coming up here in the next couple of months. Talk about your summit that you have put together. It's going to be downtown Toledo.
It is.
Let's bring people up to speed.
Yeah, May 12th and May 13th, I'm going to be hosting Challenge Yourself Coaching and Leadership Summit, based upon our podcast that actually you were on a few years ago. And it's going to be held at the Hilton downtown. And WTOL is going to be a media sponsor, which I'm really excited about. But the goal is to help people build their leadership brand. Regardless of your position, regardless of your years in the business, you know, we all need to learn from one another, and we need to make sure that our character brand aligns with our leadership brand. And who I see at the grocery store and who I see at home needs to be the same person I see empowering the workforce, empowering others. And, you know, that's the ultimate goal, is how can we grow and become more effective leaders within our industry?
Is the hope to build a stronger community? Is the hope to bring in people from all across the country and then make it spread because of the message they're getting here? Or all of the above?
All of the above.
Yeah.
You know, I want to showcase how amazing Toledo is. I want to show what a tight-knit community we are and how fortunate we are to have people that support. And I'm bringing in speakers from Toledo. I have Brian Blair, who is the athletic director at Toledo. You know, I have Diana Patton, and then I'm also bringing speakers from across the country to showcase Toledo. But also, we just need to continuously learn from so many people across the world.
What have you? I'm going to ask you a hard question. What have you learned about you in putting this together, in taking this risk, right, to put together an entire summit?
It is a risk, and it's challenging, and that's why I call it challenge yourself. But if you don't challenge yourself, if you don't put yourself in those situations, putting yourself outside of the comfort zone that you created yourself, then you're never going to grow. And so every single day when I get to interact with people, I'm growing. I'm learning more about myself and understanding that I am made for this. And this is exactly what I need to be doing in my life.
Yeah. The podcast still going strong?
It's on hiatus
It's
right
on
now.
hiatus.
With our busy
You've got
schedule.
a lot going on.
With our busy schedule, and we're hoping that we can get that back up and running because we absolutely loved it.
This is one woman, ladies and gentlemen, who I'll tell you what, over the course of the pandemic, you really took it by, you kind of took a long, heavy stride to really push yourself and make sure that that challenge, I'm going to use that word again, but you made the most of it.
There was no other way,
Yeah.
you know, and that was, it just so happened that I had just stopped wearing my wig right before COVID. And it gave me that space just to love myself and love my reflection and really reflect and introspect upon what do I want in life and how do I want to provide value to others. And it showed me that new lens and how beautiful the world is and how I can help others.
We got 10 seconds. How do people learn more about the Challenge Summit?
ChallengeYourselfSummit.com or just go to McKennaReitz.com.
All right. Great job,
Thank
as
you
always.
so much.
It's so good to see you.
Nice to see you as always.
And everybody check out that show, Jennifer Hudson, even though it's on another network. We'll be right back right after this. For a final time here on this edition of Leading Edge, I'm Jeff Smith. We so appreciate you spending some moments with us. I'll tell you what, if you weren't inspired by those two guests, I got to work a little harder. Have a great rest of your day. If you missed any part of this, check out our YouTube channel.